All right, well, we just talked about a list of leaf characteristics. If we wanted to learn how to identify a tree and find out which tree we're looking at, or even a shrub, we can look at many different things. We could look at the leaves, the bark, the overall shape of the tree, the fruits, if they have cones or flowers. But we're going to focus in on the leaves for this activity, and if we were to study and look at what kind of leaf characteristics we could use to sort, oftentimes you come up with something very simple. You'll say we can look at the shape. They come in different shapes and sizes and color. But beyond these three, there's so much more you can look at. You can look at the actual vein pattern. Look at the veins on the leaf on both sides. You can see, even looking at these samples, that not all the veins are the same and not all leaves have veins. So you could look at the venation or the vein pattern. You can look at the edges of the leaf. Look how this leaf looks like it has little teeth all around. It's called serrated. Or this leaf is all smooth on the edge. It's a straight edge. The same as these leaves here, they're all smooth. But you could have an edge that's lobed like this, where it's kind of curvy and bumpy around. So we can look at the edges. You can look at the underside of the leaf to see if there's different colors. So on some of these leaves here, it's a lighter color with a little whitish color on the bottom there versus green on the top. And that's called bloom. So you could look to see if there's any, you could look to see if it has flowers or cones. All of these and more can be used to help identify a leaf. So we're going to do an activity. I'm going to teach you how to make your own dichotomous key. And a dichotomous key, di means two, cotomous is branching. So we're going to make a two-pronged branching system here with our leaves. So I have your challenge when you walk through the park was to find at least 10 different leaves. I believe I have 11 different leaves here, and we are going to make a key for it. Here's an example of a real dichotomous key that is actually made a picture book, and it starts on page, you have to find where it says begin here. It starts on page 6. Dichotomous always has two choices. So you read the first two choices and find out what's true for the leaf you're looking at. So if I was looking at this leaf, is it scale-like or needle-like leaves, or is it an ordinary leaf? Well, it's an ordinary leaf. So I would go to this picture on page 32. So we'll look, remember that picture, the round tree, go to page 32. 32, look for the round tree, there it is right there. You would read these two statements and find out which one is true for your leaf, and keep going until eventually it will tell you you have a this tree or shrub, and you'll read the little description, look at the picture, and make sure that it matches with what you're looking at. Along the way, you could make a mistake. It's kind of like choose your own adventure books. If you make a mistake, go back to, if you come to a spot where you're not sure, make sure you make note of it so you can go back to that spot and try the other choice to see if that works better. Some of the questions may be harder for you to answer if you only have a leaf to look at and not the entire shrub or tree. So we're going to make our own right here. The first thing we're going to do is we're starting with our whole big pile of leaves. I think I'll make it green. This is our pile of 10 leaves right here, and we have to have two choices. And our first two choices, almost every dichotomous key for a tree starts with the number one question. Is it an evergreen or is it a deciduous tree? So I'm going to write the type here, and it's evergreen, and I'm just going to say not evergreen. If it's not evergreen, it's a deciduous, but you'll see why I'm saying not. It makes it simple. So let's take our leaves and sort them. Not, ooh, needles, that should be an evergreen. Here's some blue grayish needles. These are flat needles. I think these go here too. And I believe the rest of our leaves would all go over here in this pile. Now let's focus on our evergreen. We are going to make another choice. I meant to write it in green. So we have to look at our pile here. We have 4 specimens. How can we divide those into 2? By looking at a leaf characteristic. Well, I noticed that this is a skinny needle, and this is a needle, and this is a flat needle, but this does not look like a needle at all. So I think I'm going to choose the leaf structure. This is needles and knot. Now this one is all by itself. That means we're done. We can't put it, we want to get it all by itself. This one is totally done. Now we have 3 to look at. And this time I am looking at the needles, and I can roll this one, and this one is, well, some of these are pointy. These are really flat, but these seem to be growing round. So I think I'm going to say that I want this to be the flat, which would be this one by itself, versus the round needles. Okay. Now this one's by itself, so that means this one is done. We're done with this one. Now we have to think of one more way to divide these, and trying to think of a characteristic we haven't used yet. And I know one we haven't used is color. But we could also do needle length. These look like they're longer than all the ones on here, but I think I'll do a gray color or green and not green. How about that? So this one is based on color, and it's green and not green. And now all of those are by themselves. Now we would go back and we would do that same process with our not evergreen leaves, our deciduous leaves. And on this one, we looked as to whether they were needle-like or not needle-like. These are kind of more scale-like. We looked at whether they were flat or round in dimension, and we looked at color. So another thing we could look at, that I didn't even mention on our list, is you could look at the leaf. It's called apex, the tip. Do you notice how the tips of the leaves are different? They can be different. They have different shapes. This one's more rounded. This one's very caves in a little bit for that point. And the opposite end is the base. This one has a V base. This one's a little more rounded. This one's very round, a very curved, almost circular base. So those are other ways you can identify leaves. So we can divide these. How about we look at the edges? Or no, you know what I think I want to do first? Look how this is one leaf. Oops, this one's hiding. One, but this has a whole bunch. This whole thing is considered a leaf, and these little ones are called leaflets. So this is called a compound leaf, and these are simple. So I'm going to divide these up right here like this. This is a compound because they have multiple leaflets to form the whole leaf. And this is called simple because it's just one single blade for the leaf. So that makes this one all by itself. Now what do we do for this? Oh, how about the edges? Look at this. I can see the edges that these are all, I didn't mean to do it, but these are all serrated already, and this is not serrated, it's lobed. So we're going to do, I'll put you way out here. Lobed and serrated. And serrated means like the teeth. Has the jagged edges. So our lobed one is all by itself, so we're done with that one. And now we have 4 more to divide up. And this time I think, boy, they do all have their own unique shape. And we can't divide into 3. We can't say oval and trapezoid. No, this wouldn't be trapezoid. More like a diamond. We can't have 3 choices. We can only have 2. And you know, maybe, actually, I'm trying to figure it out because there's no one right answer. And I think I changed my mind. I'm going to do a V for a base and a not V. So this one will be by itself and these three. So we're going to divide this one up by its base, the shape, and it's a V shape and not V. And this one is really round, so that one's off by itself now. Now how do we divide these up? I try to think of different things. We're not always using the same, but we could still divide by color on this, red and not red. So that one's by itself and this one's not red. I know I did use color one time, but that's okay. For there. And now our last two. And what's so distinct to me is its shape. This is really more like a diamond shape. So I'm going to say diamond and not diamond for the shape. And then we will be done sorting, looking at the shape. Diamond and not diamond, okay? So that, we just created our own dichotomous key. If we had this little book and we were to write it, our first choice of questions would be, is the leaf evergreen or needle-like? Or is it a simple leaf or a regular blade leaf? And that's how we would start. And we would be able to make our own dichotomous key based on that. When you've practiced doing this activity, this really helps you to focus and key in on how alike and different the leaves are. And it helps you learn the different vocabulary and the parts of the leaves and things to look at. Because we could have looked at the vein pattern too. That will help you when you're actually using a real dichotomous key, when you're reading it and trying to identify and figure out which tree or shrub you're using. Sometimes you don't want to use a key, a dichotomous key like that. You just want to look at pictures. So these are available online. Starflower Foundation. It's the Washington Washington Native Plant Associations, something like that. And they have different cards you can download. So this is a picture of a Sitka spruce, which grows a lot in Alaska, not necessarily here, but western hemlock is our state tree. So you might be able to see that, you see the tree from afar and has a droopy top. You might be able to look at the needles up close, and you might be able to tell by the cone on all these pictures that you definitely are looking at a western hemlock. So you can use photographs, identification books, or cards to identify different trees and shrubs also.